So hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is the first in a series of webinars that we'll be hosting this fall about the Master of Science in Innovation and Venture Development. If you are new to the MSIVD program at ASU, this is a transdisciplinary partnership between 3 schools within the university. We are part of the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering, the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts, and the W.P. Carey School of Business. We launched this program in fall 2020 with our first cohort and just welcomed our second cohort this fall 2021. And we're currently accepting applications for the third cohort, which will begin in fall of 2022. So hopefully if you're here this morning, you're interested in learning more about the program and potentially applying for the next cohort. I'm going to start us off first, just kind of giving you a brief overview of our agenda this morning. So in just a few moments, I will formally introduce myself as well as our program director, Brent Siebold. Brent will be kind of giving you a bit of a program overview to talk a little bit about MSIVD in more detail and various aspects of the program. I will have some information for you about the admission requirements and what our application process looks like if you're interested in applying to the program. And then we do expect that we'll have some time towards the end for a Q&A as well. So if at any point throughout this presentation you have any questions for myself or Brent about the program, whether it be about the curriculum or the application process, feel free to leave those questions in the Q&A section of the Zoom webinar, and we'll be able to get to all of those towards the end. So my name is Jackie Collins. If we haven't spoken before, I'm the graduate coordinator for the MSIVD program, which basically means I work with all of our prospective students. I work with students throughout the admissions process, and then I also serve as an academic advisor to our admitted students. And I help with other various administrative tasks that as the program needs as well. So I think that by this point I know a good deal about the program, so I am happy to meet with you one-on-one. If you want to talk more in detail about the program as well, feel free to reach out. And then in just a few minutes here, you're going to be hearing from Brent Siebold. Brent is our current program director for MSIVD. He has pretty much been around since the program started, so he is another great source of knowledge about the program. He just wrapped up teaching our Studio One course this fall. So he has some insights into what our current cohort looks like. And yeah, with that being said, I will turn it over to you, Brent, to talk a little bit more about the program for us.
Great. Thank you so much, Jackie. And I wanted to also say hi to my dear friend and colleague, Mike McBride is here from our graduate recruitment office, representing not only engineering, but all of ASU. So Mike, thanks for putting this together for us and inviting us in to talk with these students that are interested in the program.
Pleasure being here. Thank you.
All right, so welcome everybody. Jackie, thanks so much for getting us kicked off. We are absolutely thrilled about bringing on our next cohort. As Jackie said, we're very early in this process of shaping and expanding this particular program. And cohort 3 is going to have undoubtedly a special place in my heart. Specifically, when I did my graduate work at Arizona State University, specifically my doctorate, I was in cohort 3 of my program back in 2011. And I just got to tell you, it was the best cohort out of all. I think they're up to 20 cohorts now, but I still hear from some of the faculty and administrators about the magic of number 3. So for those of you that are considering getting involved, just in my humble opinion, you can't beat the 3rd iteration of really anything. So welcome. Let's go ahead and, actually, I should point out on that previous slide, you all know this, but the world is changing rapidly. So we designed this program with that in mind, knowing that things are technology, societal issues, economic issues are all getting more complex at an exponential rate. So the whole idea behind MSIVD is empowering our graduates and our students with the tools to manage uncertainty, to manage innovation in rapidly changing settings. So we think this is the right program at the right time. And now all we're missing are the right students. And luckily, we've had a great group of about 60 students go through the program. As Jackie said, we just kicked off the second cohort with approximately 25 students on board. So we're off to a good start. But again, we're not taking our foot off the gas anytime soon. We feel like more students that are exposed to the methodologies and the unique aspects of the program, as you see here, we're just going to have a better opportunity to make the world a better place. And that's the goal. So if you come into the program, you learn the methodology. We'll talk about that here in a minute or two. And you get out there and you change the world. That's the minimum expectation. So there's no reason why you can't, because as you can see here, one of the unique design aspects of this program is that you're drawing from world-class faculty from 3 of arguably the best schools at Arizona State, which happens to be arguably one of the best universities in the entire world. It's in the top, Mike, help me out here. I think it's now in the top 50 or at least top 75 universities globally. So, really that's about the people engaged, right? So the faculty that we have engaged from W.P. Carey School of Business and Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts and the IRA Fulton Schools of Engineering, all top of the class folks. So, we want to challenge you to, swing for the fences and do something that is ultimately going to make you a better human being, but more importantly, to exponentially charge your impact on the world. So let's take a closer look at some of the details around how we do this. Jackie, that's Jackie's got her finger on the button. So thanks for rolling with us here this morning. So as you saw in the previous slide, what we are most excited about in this very unique master's program is this concept of venture-based learning. So I kind of skipped over the bullet point. Didn't want to scare you off too soon of you are expected to launch a new venture in this program. And really what that means is you are in the driver's seat in terms of identifying an area of your life or the area of your work or your philanthropy or whatever it is that you're into that you feel like could be made better vis-a-vis the development of a new product, a new service, a new platform, a new intervention of any type. And then the power of that intervention that you devise can only be magnified through what we call a business model. And so when you apply a business model to traditional problem solving, whether it be in the area of engineering or design or business, you then go from project-based learning to venture-based learning. And this methodology of venture-based learning through a sequential series of studio experiences can be replicated throughout the remainder of your career. So it's this old adage of, don't bring students to the river and feed them directly. It's teach them how to fish. And then they'll be able to go out and teach others. And more importantly, replicate that process to create bigger and more impactful interventions as their professional careers unfold. So what you're looking at here is an overview of a year-long sprint in terms of how do we solve for X in a venture-based way. And the only way we believe to do that efficaciously is to actually do it, right? So to not talk about doing it or to not read case studies about other people that have done it, but to actually do it yourselves. So I, for one, have been in the weeds in this domain of venture-based learning for almost my entire career, dating back to when I was in high school. It wasn't until the early 2010s that we had a solid framework to apply to the messy process of innovation and solving for X. So very excited to teach this, what we call lean startup methodology, or efficient innovation management theory. And so all theory and application, I should say. So all of these things will be introduced to you. These methods will be introduced to you in an order that makes sense for you to actually affect change in the real world. Underpinning all of that studio-based trial and error and venture development activity is our attempt to turn you into a leader in the domain of innovation management and scaling impacts that you might devise inside the program or later on in your career. So leadership in this area is absolutely huge. And so we have two required courses that underpin all of the cyclical innovation activity that happens in the 5 studios. So we go from essentially, we're recruiting for fall of 2022. So we'll kick off Studio 1 in about mid-August of 2022. And then you'll be basically presenting your plans to scale up your intervention, your product, your service, your other means of making the world a better place in the summer of 2023 in Studio 5. And so that's the arc of activity that you see on the slide. And feel free, if you have questions, feel free to throw them into the chat or other mechanism here on Zoom. And just to kind of double down on this, want to make it absolutely clear, that project-based learning is not bad, right? So this is not a referendum on the power of project-based learning. In other words, us assigning you a problem statement or us assigning you a sponsor, driven domain that needs to be improved. That is typically how things work in the realm of project-based learning. But in venture-based learning, in my experience over the past 15 years of working with founders and innovators, because it's just so difficult to solve for X in such ambiguous settings, I found the only way to keep folks, especially in the academic world, 100% locked in to the problem-solving process is to give them as much autonomy and authority over the domain in which they're innovating. So, one of the radical innovations here is allowing you as an individual student to solve for X in a domain that you deeply, deeply care about, whether it's related to industry or your personal life or other areas of your life. That's absolutely key. And when you are making that solution throughout the methodology I just described, we're going to challenge you to turn it into a venture that will sustain and hopefully scale beyond the end of the program in the summer of 2023. And so that's the key difference there. Generally, a project has an end date, right? You ship your deliverable to the sponsor, you ship your deliverable to the faculty, and you say, well, there it is. We worked hard on it, but now we're off to the races, onto the next thing. We believe that's not good enough, right? So if you spend a year of your life building something from scratch, just because you got a diploma at the end of the ride shouldn't mean that all of your hard work just goes into some filing cabinet at Arizona State University. We want you to make the world better. And the only way to do that is to act. And the only way to sustain that is through a venture. And when I say venture, I'm talking about a for-profit model, a more than profit model, and nonprofit models. All of those things are ventures. And so regardless of which business model you choose to apply, we want it to be real. And by the way, you'll be in this cohort, hopefully with somewhere on the order of 30 to 50 other graduate students. We strongly believe the folks in that cohort are probably not your best co-founders, right? Other people that are willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with you to solve for X in a domain that you deeply care about. So the other radical innovation of this program that I'm very proud of is the fact that we're not going to put you on teams. Like that's totally you remember undergraduate school being put on a team. How did that team operate toward the end of the project? Don't answer that. I know exactly how the team was getting along, right? So that's just not real. That's theoretical. That's forced. In the real world, yeah, of course we don't oftentimes get to choose with whom we work in the office if we're working at a company or a corporation or so on and so forth. But I can absolutely tell you for certain, the people that are innovating at work, they do choose who they're working with, right? So, and founders of new startups or new nonprofits, they absolutely choose who they're working with. So your co-founders through this venture-based learning process don't have to be enrolled in the program. In fact, I would argue they shouldn't be. They should be your old college roommate who you love and who you still talk to on a daily basis. They can be your cousin, they can be a relative, they can be anybody. But bottom line is you're in this program, you're learning how to do it most efficiently, and you're rallying with those people that are already, connected to you in real life to make it happen. So that's the challenge, and that's the expectation. Now, let me make this clear, and Jackie, you can back me up on this. Now, you can catch lightning in a bottle. You can find somebody that, happens to be as equally passionate about the problem statement as you are in that group of 30, 40, 50, 60 students. But think about it. There's a couple billion people on the planet Earth. The chances are low that the right people are in the room with you to make it happen. To make you feel like you're not on an island by yourself, we leverage another mechanism called the community of practice. So we're never alone. We're always doing the process of innovation and venture development together. But just so you're aware, we want what you're doing in the classroom, in the studio, to be 100% real. It is not theoretical, and it's not a forced project. So I think I've talked through almost every one of these subpoints with my rant from the earlier slide. So I think we're good there. The last one I should mention, Jackie, on the deliverables. Again, at minimum, you're launching a new venture. Best case scenario, you're bringing a new product or service to market, and you're actually going into business. So there is a difference between a startup venture concept and actual business. The key delta in between those two classifications is a sale. So if you can actually sell your solution to the marketplace, either a pre-sale or an actual sale, or you raise some venture capital to move it into reality, all of those things are icing on the cake. The expectation is you're just moving in that direction because it takes time. In most cases, launching a startup and going from startup venture concept to actual business with a sale and a validated business model. I mean, this takes years and years. So we don't expect you to shoot out of a cannon come July 2023. But if you follow along and you're dedicated and you want to earn both the master's degree and change the world at the same time, you're going to have a leg up over a lot of the folks that are in your same cohort, your same mindset globally. Why does this matter? Bottom line is, we believe in this program, and I think I actually speak on behalf of a lot of other faculty and leaders at Arizona State University. This is imperative, right? We have a lot of challenges facing us as a society right now, from the climate to, I mean, it's Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. If you look at the bottom of Maslow's pyramid, we've got a lot of problems going on right now in the world. So this methodology, this venture-minded approach, this innovation management tactics and strategies that are embedded within this program, absolutely key to us saving ourselves from ourselves. So we need you, right? We need literally hundreds and thousands of more graduate students to be exposed to these methods. and then more importantly, to put them into action in the real world, and then ultimately enrich our communities, and maybe if we do things right, create a little nice nest for ourselves and our families along the way. Okay, what do we have next, Jackie? Oh, this is exciting. So this, yeah, we had just about the same number of ventures in cohort 1. So here, just 7 weeks into the second cohort, we've identified 21 ventures. Most of these are single actors within the cohort, and they have co-founders that they've chosen to work with outside of the program. There's 2 ventures listed here, and these are domains in which they're operating. So the ventures are nascent right now. They don't have solutions. They have placeholder branding, so on and so forth. But these are the areas in which they've basically pledged to make better, right? This is the step 1 is, what do you care about? What's your why, right? And what's going to get you out of bed in the morning to be excited about going through the gauntlet that's required to problem solve in these domains. So it's up to the students themselves, the founders themselves, to identify which area they're most excited about. So as you can see from this list, we've got some very, very compelling, very timely challenge statements here, or verticals that we're tracking within this group. So super excited about all of these cohort members, and then also very closely tracking the 20 venture concepts that we kicked off, we initiated in cohort 1. So thanks for summarizing this list for us, Jackie. Some inspirational domains. So speaking of inspiration, we're inspired by our physical setting here in Tempe, Arizona, on the Tempe campus. We're just north of University Drive at the northeast corner of Rural Road and University Drive. So this is an inside shot of one of our lab spaces in the building called Novus. And Novus is very aptly named for this particular program. Novus is Latin for new. So we expect you to create a new solution to an existing problem with some novel aspects, whether it be the technology or branding or whatever it is that you bring to the table through your marketplace insights. You'll have a chance to work in a setting like this with your cohort mates and potentially with other co-founders as you move forward. So as you do that, you'll see here we've got a couple of other photos of the teams in action. Yes, Mike, you're allowed to write on the walls. We have folks that can help us keep all that stuff clean. This is Rebecca, one of our students from the first cohort. We had very limited in-person engagement with cohort 1 due to the pandemic, but we were excited to have Rebecca and her cohort mates come in and leverage the space when they could. Jackie, I think there's another cool shot of some of the students in the space. No, that's it. Okay. So yeah, thanks Rebecca for being an actor in our slide deck here today. So we're excited. Cohort 2 is fully in person at Novus. We meet every Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday, it's pretty much the entire day. And then Thursday, we meet primarily in the afternoons. And then you'll be expected to take some elective courses, either online or in person elsewhere around the university. So you get a chance to kind of branch out into other settings at ASU. And I want to wrap up by just pointing out a couple of our key colleagues in the program. First one being Mr. Tom Prescott. He's just an amazing human being. He is a former ASU civil engineering student, an alumni of ASU. He went on to get an MBA at Kellogg, and then he ultimately became the CEO of Align Technologies, which makes Invisalign, the clear braces, which I'm wearing right now. Can you see? No, I'm just kidding. Not wearing. I need them probably. But anyway, Tom built a company. It was started by a couple of technical co-founders in Silicon Valley, some dental fans apparently. But he grew the company significantly in Silicon Valley, San Jose, California. And it was Tom that came to our deans in engineering, business, and design and said, hey, I think some of the standard graduate level programs that ASU is offering don't reflect what's happening in the real world, specifically at companies like Align, where my designers are constantly working with our business folks, marketing and management and finance, who are also intertwined with our engineers in the fabrication lab, which, by the way, Align is the world's largest 3D printing company. If anybody's interested in 3D printing, they have an entire warehouse full of top of the line 3D printers to ship out those teeth straighteners. So basically, Tom made the argument that, why would you separate design, business, and engineering students at the graduate level, especially if not the undergraduate level? So it was Tom's philanthropy that kicked off the design build process of this master's degree about 4 years ago. And so now we are seeing the fruits of Tom's generosity. And we hope that you are willing to leverage Tom's generosity as well, because his gift to the university to catalyze this program is still in action. And there's a very high chance, almost a certain chance, that when you're a student in this program, you'll have a significant opportunity to spend face-to-face, hopefully not wearing masks by the time we get to that point, but face-to-face with or without masks with Tom in Tempe and perhaps other places around the country as part of the program experience. So we're super excited about Tom's engagement. And then I'll wrap up by introducing you to one of my colleagues here on the faculty. This is Dr. Shirley Ann. She is one of our most inspiring faculty members. She's also an outlier. She works for our Thunderbird School of Global Management, which is a part of WP Carey School of Business, but she is an expert in sustainability and community engagement, design, interventions. And it's people like Shirley Ann and many other faculty within the program that, I kind of have to pinch myself that I get to work with these people. And also the students that are accepted into the program are just top notch. So having the diversity of thought, the diversity of expertise, all underpinned by the experts that we have in the venture creation and innovation management domain of scholarship and methodology, we're top of the class. So we're pretty bold. We're me especially. We're egomaniacs here. We're going to say this is the best master's program in the world at the present moment. So you can pretty much stop searching for other master's programs. Mike, can you just send them a letter right now, a cease and desist letter, and say, stop your search. You found the program you were looking for. It's the MSIVD program at ASU. You're going to work with Shirley Ann. You're going to get to meet and kind of learn from Tom, who's one of the best operators in multidisciplinary problem solving in corporate America today. And most importantly, you get to work with Jackie. So, so stop what you're doing, submit your application, and let's get going. That was my pitch. What do you guys think of my pitch? Oh, Jackie, you want to talk about where these students can end up? Now, obviously, I said it's going to take a while for your venture to start returning cash, right, to your venture bank account. It is, I'll be honest with all of you, sometimes it takes years to be cash flow positive as a founder. So more than anything, like I've said throughout this presentation, our number one job is to teach you the methodology. And if it can be applied within your day job or a aspirational gig that you may have within industry, there's no shame in doing that. If you read the literature, it backs me up 100%. Most successful startup founders, venture founders, begin their process of launching a venture as a side hustle. It's not their full-time job. So while you're getting your intervention off the ground financially and otherwise, during the program, you're going to get a hard head start, but then after the program, there's absolutely no shame in being a product manager at an existing company, being a C-level innovation manager. All of these titles are legit. We know real human beings that hold these positions in world-class organizations. And by the way, many of them are on our advisory board, and they're saying we're looking for good people to fill these roles. And who better to fill these positions than graduates of the MSIVD program? All right, now I'm done. I think. There's one more slide, Jackie, but.
Thanks, Brent. Yeah, so I am going to tell everybody a little bit in more detail about what the application process will look for you if you're interested in MSIVD. Before I get into it, though, I just want to remind everybody, if you do have any questions about anything that Brent just covered about the program, please do go ahead and put them in the Q&A. So that we can get to those for you in a few minutes. But for now, I am going to turn us over to the logistics of the admissions process for MSIVD. So as I said early on in the presentation, we're currently accepting applications for our next cohort, which will begin in fall 2022. The application process for this program is pretty straightforward. You need your undergraduate transcripts, obviously, at ASU for the admissions process. We do accept unofficial transcripts, which you can upload directly to the online application. If you don't have your unofficial transcripts, then obviously you can request your official transcripts to be sent directly from your undergraduate institution. We don't require any kind of standard graduate level test scores for admission to this program, so you don't need a GRE or GMAT or anything like that. The only type of test that you might need to take would be if you're an international student and you meet the university's English proficiency requirement. There are a variety of tests that the university accepts to meet that. If you haven't already, for example, completed an undergraduate program at a US institution. Otherwise, we're not really looking for anything from you in the way of test scores for this application. And then the other two things that are really going to make up the bulk of your application are going to be your resume and your letter of intent. For your resume, we really just want to see the most up-to-date version of your resume with your background, both professionally and your previous educational experience. And then your letter of intent is really what I typically encourage applicants to spend the most time on. This is going to be your opportunity to introduce yourself for the first time formally to the faculty that you may be working at in the program. So you can kind of make it your own, but really we're looking to hear from you in terms of what brought you to MSIVD and why you think that you would be a good fit for this program. It's nothing crazy. It should be about 2 to 3 pages double spaced. And yeah, it's really just your first opportunity to make a good impression and introduce yourself to your potential future colleagues and mentors. So those are the key items that you need for the online application. And the application is open now. Our priority application deadline is January 15th. That being said, we are reviewing applications prior to that date. So I would definitely encourage you to submit your application as soon as possible in order to have it reviewed for the upcoming fall cohort. So I mentioned this is the first in a series of webinars that we'll be hosting this fall. Our next one will be happening on October 27th. We'll be talking a bit about what an MSIVD student looks like. We don't really look for a set student profile, but we want to give you some idea more of the kind of characteristics of an MSIVD student, give you a better sense of, is this program right for you, and are you right for the program? So if you don't already have the information for how to register for that one, I'll be sure to share that with everybody that's been in attendance today, so that we will hopefully see you there. So we do have some time left now for questions. It looks like we might have at least one question that's come in already, so I'll take a look at that. And then in the meantime, if you have any other questions, please feel free to throw them in the Q&A. So we have a question from Hannah asking if she could potentially join this program at the same time as a 4+1 master's degree in biomedical engineering. So we don't currently have MSIVD set up formally as a 4+1 program. Typically, for anybody who's not familiar, a 4+1, a student gets to start some of their graduate level work in the last couple of years of their undergraduate degree. So then they only have 1 year left of their master's program that they need to complete by the time they kind of officially enter their graduate career. So yeah, we don't have an official formal 4+1 agreement set up for MSIVD with any of ASU's undergraduate programs at this time. That being said, MSIVD kind of is already built to be a 4+1 in the sense that it is only a 1 year master's program. So if you decide that you want to go into MSIVD straight out of your undergrad, you're expected to complete the program within 1 year. Yeah, Brent, do you have any other thoughts or comments on that, or?
Only that we would, do our best to work with you, and I'm assuming it would be a BME master's. Maybe let's, Hannah, let's chat a little further directly about ultimately your career goals. Maybe, rather than doing both, maybe there's an opportunity to strategically decide which one would be best, given what Jackie just said about, essentially we're a 4+1 too. Mike, I'll defer to you because I don't.
Yeah, it's really an advising question, I think, from the top. And I don't know that it can be pursued as a concurrent master's degree is what I think the question might be. Could I do this at the same time I do my +1? I don't know that the courses that you'd be taking in your +1 would be able to also count, for example, in the MSIVD. So that's a discussion between the advising units. In addition, as was mentioned by Jackie, this is a 1 year program. So, looking at what you'd need to complete in your biomedical +1, in addition to the courses that you'd need in a master's degree in MSIVD, that could get cumbersome, I would assume. But it's really a question for the advisors in the 2 units, MSIVD and biomed. There'd have to be some sort of agreement, but I'm not sure concurrent. I don't hear too much talk about concurrent masters. I hear a lot about that at the undergraduate level, pursuing concurrent undergraduate degrees, which is a little more flexible, but.
And we have had a few students already do concurrent degrees. They did MSIVD alongside a PhD program. We had one student who went that route last year, and then we have 3 of our current students who are also PhD students doing the MSIVD concurrently. But for them, they're sharing their credits between the master's and a PhD program. If you're doing a 4+1 program, then you also want to do MSIVD concurrently with the other masters that's part of the 4+1 program. Yeah, it might get a little bit tricky because you're already sharing credits between the 4+1 masters and your undergraduate degree. So yeah, we can definitely have more conversations with you though, outside of the webinar format to kind of further clarify what you're looking for, and like Brent said, what might be the best fit for you. I'm actually going to go ahead and just flip over to this next and last slide here, just to make sure that everybody that's online today has my contact information. So if you want to reach out, I would be more than happy to set up a phone call or Zoom or even meet in person to talk a little bit more about what you're looking to do and what we can do to make it work for you.
Yeah, and Hannah, I'm sure you know who your advisor is in biomedical engineering. Have a conversation with them as well, and work with both units.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have another question here. What are financial aid options for students in this program in terms of scholarships, assistantships, etc.? So we do have some scholarships that are going to be available directly through the program. Typically, we are not, unfortunately, able to offer full scholarships. We offer partial scholarships to some of our students. If you are interested in scholarship opportunities, I would definitely strongly encourage you to get your application in by that January 15th priority deadline. That is kind of typically the students that we give priority to in terms of any available scholarships that we have to offer. The other nice thing about the MSIVD program is that students in this program are eligible to apply not only to general ASU graduate level scholarships, but also scholarships that are specific to students in the 3 schools involved. So if you ever go onto ASU's online scholarship search, you can narrow down the search results by college. You can, as an MSIVD student, look at scholarship opportunities that are available through the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts, through Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering, and through the W.P. Carey School of Business. So that does kind of widen your scope as well in terms of looking for funding opportunities. And then the other thing to keep in mind as well is that MSIVD is a STEM designated program. There are external scholarships that are geared specifically towards students in STEM programs. So that is another great resource for you if you are looking for help with funding for the program. Definitely check out those STEM scholarships as well. Okay. Oh, one more question here. Hannah wants to know if MSIVD is an MS program. So yes, MSIVD is an MS. It's a Master of Science, and the degree name is Innovation and Venture Development. So we can give it another minute or so. If anybody has any last questions that they want to get in, we'd be happy to answer them. But I just want to again remind you that we would be happy to meet with you outside of the webinar as well if you want to reach out to me at the contact information on the screen. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. We hope that you found the information here helpful, and we would be really excited to have you join us as part of the next cohort. Thank you to Mike and Brent for both being here and sharing your expertise and insights as well.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Hannah and Erna. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, everybody.